Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Joan Hunter. I am back and in a new space today. You may notice that things look a little different behind me. So, this is my new home of my office for Vibrant Health Northwest, and I'm so happy to be in this space. I wanted to talk today about physical activity and really delve into some of the newer guidelines and recommendations that have come out. We've talked about the 150 minutes a week of moderate cardiovascular activity, talked a little bit about resistance training. We'll get into each of those individually, but I really wanted to talk about inactivity and how impactful that is on our health. So let me get my slides up. So, physical inactivity, not maintaining routine activity in our lives, is the fourth leading actual cause of death. So, the top three causes of death in our country are stroke, heart attack, and cancer. And when you look at the actual causes of death, poor nutrition, smoking, and physical inactivity are in the top few. And what does physical inactivity look like? Sedentary behavior, what does that mean? Sedentary activities are basically activities where you're sitting on your bum or laying down. So, watching TV, listening to music, reading, writing, non-active hobbies, my favorite, puzzling. Um, those types of activities are fine for us in moderation. But when we do them for multiple hours a day, it has drastic impacts on our health. And actually, TV watching is one of the most significantly impactful sedentary activities on our health. It increases your risk of diabetes and cardiovascular disease, including heart attacks and stroke. And the thought behind that is that oftentimes while we're watching TV, we're also snacking. And the things that we snack on, and we do it kind of mindlessly because our attention is elsewhere, they're not really healthy choices. They're what I call non-nutritive snacks. So you're not gaining a lot of nutrition from what you're putting in your mouth. So TV watching in specific has been shown to be really impactful. And it's probably because we also like do it for hours at a time, binge watching shows. So getting us out of sedentary activity is hugely important, and being more active really throughout the day. So I don't know if any of you have heard that sitting is the new smoking. But again, this idea that sitting and being sedentary, being inactive for more than 4 hours in a row, which is something we might do while watching Lord of the Rings, one of my favorite activities, um, has a direct impact on our cardiovascular health. Really, our bodies were meant to be in motion. We were not meant to be in one spot, and it affects the way our heart pumps blood throughout our body and increases your chance of death by 50% from any cause. So incredibly impactful. And how do we define physical activity? How do we say, this is how we're going to be active? It's really any movement that you do that expends energy. So it's a little different than exercise, which exercise is really physical activity with the goal of improving health or burning calories, like you're going to go out on a run. But physical activity can happen in many ways. You can get physical activity um, cleaning your house. You can get physical activity parking your car at the far end of the parking lot and walking in a few extra minutes. So, we've all heard about step counts and things like that and how they have impact. And there was actually a recent study that showed, any physical activity throughout the day can be a benefit to your health. So we've all probably heard about 10,000 steps, right? That's the goal that we should all be reaching. So this was a recent study published in JAMA in 2020, and it really looked at a large population of people who were in the study, about 5,000. They had them all wear pedometers, and they tracked them over time. And then they did what's called a look back. So 5 years after the study, they went back to all the people in the study and saw who had died in that 5 year period and then what they had died from. And what was really interesting was that 10,000 steps was good for you, but it wasn't really the answer when we were talking about reducing your cardiovascular mortality. And when we think about cardiovascular exercise, walking, jogging, swimming, biking, running, it's really optimizing your vascular system. It's helping your heart be healthy. And that's hugely important because we know that cardiovascular disease, heart attack, and stroke are the top two causes of death in this country. So we need to be doing more cardiovascular activity throughout the day. And what this study showed, and I know this is kind of a busy slide, was really that your mortality rate, your risk of dying, especially from heart attack or stroke, I think they included cancer in this study as well, was significantly impacted by your daily activity. So you can see over here, people with 2,000 steps a day or less had the highest mortality rate. And so I like to refer to 2,000 steps a day or less as the metabolic equivalent of death. So if you are not moving your body, it's doing really bad things and you're likely to die soon. Um, 4,000 steps a day was a little better. And when we look in this graph here, for our elderly patients, 65 and older, those who went from 2,000 steps a day to 4,000 steps a day, that's the steepest decrease in that mortality curve. So I work with a lot of older adults and I try to get them to focus like, A, what is your step count? Are you under 2,000? How do we get you to 4,000 steps a day? Now, in the study, really kind of the place where the mortality went down really significantly was here at 8,000 steps a day. So I make that a step goal for a lot of my patients instead of 10,000. 10,000 is unattainable for some people. We think about the difference between being sedentary at not around 5,000 steps a day. So if you're under 5,000, again, you're going to see gains and improvements if you go from 2,000 to 4,000, but under 5,000 steps a day, you're still fairly sedentary. But this window of the 8,000 steps a day was really where we saw a significant decrease in mortality. So even here up to this 7,999 steps, you still could have pretty close to a 20% mortality rate. But at 8,000 steps or more, it really kind of falls off the cliff. So I don't preach 10,000 steps a day anymore. I think the data is pretty clear. The really interesting part of this study was that there was no statistically significant difference if your steps were very highly intense or low intense. So it really didn't matter if you were out there running or walking, or even walking very slowly. Uh, just moving was what was important. So again, this is something where we have that national guideline of 150 minutes a week of moderate cardiovascular activity, brisk walking, enough movement to break a light sweat. That is unattainable for so many people that I work with. However, just being active, just walking around your house, just vacuuming, sweeping, parking your car at the far end of the parking lot, taking the stairs, all movement counts when it comes to cardiovascular risk reduction. It doesn't matter how slow it is. I've even heard a sports medicine doctor say that, 10,000 steps a day, and I'll insert 8,000 here perhaps, is like our best Alzheimer's drug. Our bodies need movement. And he specifically said it doesn't matter how slow, just be moving. So I want to think about the difference really between structured exercise for cardiovascular exercise and lifestyle exercise, right? Playing with your kids, doing a pickup soccer game with your friends, going and walking in the mall, just being active, just getting movement in. That's lifestyle exercise and it's hugely important. Walking your dog, right? Scrubbing your floors. And then there's structured exercise. I'm going to take the time out, go to the gym. I'm going to focus on a brisk walk or a run. I'm going to go swimming. And that's great. What I want to impart to you is that all movement counts. It's all good for your body. And that really trying to get your steps up, whether they're low intensity, moderate intensity, high intensity, it's going to benefit you. And taking time for exercise is important for our self-care, but just being active in your daily lifestyle is also a huge piece of staying healthy for a lifetime. So thank you for being here with me today. I wanted to share that important new information with you and really appreciate you listening in on how physical activity is an impairment to our health and just daily movement is so important to our health. This is Dr. Hunter signing off to your good health.